Well, hello, hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I am digging into this question. Why don't people like Skypiea? I got a number of different comments on my Skypiea videos as I was reading and reviewing that arc, and I got a bunch of comments about how Skypiea is ranked at some of the lowest. It's ranked at the bottom of arcs in One Piece. And I was like, why is that? And so I'm diving into that question today and responding to some of the critiques about Skypiea. If you are new to my channel and you have no idea what I'm talking about, then I will say that my name is Shelly and I review One Piece on my channel, among other things. I love books and reading. And if you're new here and you like the vibe, I would encourage you to subscribe, stick around, and without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. After I did some digging, I found out there were a number of different critiques on this arc. So if you have thoughts, ideas, please share them in the comments down below. I love the comments. I read all of the comments and I try my best to respond to all of them. Just, be nice because we like niceness here. So the first, I'm going to be giving the complaint and also responding whether I agree or disagree. Now the first complaint, if you can believe it, is that Skypiea has a very slow start. The exposition is a little bit drawn out with the White Sea and the Skypiea society and getting to know everyone and getting into the conflict and even getting up to Skypiea. It all kind of takes a very, very long time. And some fans say it's too long. It's too slow. It bogs everything down. It just takes too long to get into things. And to that I say, I kind of agree. I kind of agree. There is a particular part in which Connis is talking with the Straw Hats and her dad about how dials work and how the energy works in the whole system. And I remember having the thought to myself, why are we talking about this? What in the world is happening right now? Then I came to realize some of the significance of explaining how the world works when especially it comes to the final battle and how to beat Enel and Luffy in and of himself, why he's resistant to Enel's electricity. Because up in the sky, rubber is not really a thing. And that doesn't really make a lot of sense until you dive into how the mechanics of the world works. So I understand the slow start, but it is pretty slow. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces. There's even a lot of maps and stuff, and it adds to a bit of the slowness. I don't know why I'm talking with my hands so much, but that's, there's a slow start. And that, that's okay. That's okay. I'm okay. I trust Mr. Oda, sir. I don't know where I was going with the sir thing, but I trust Oda. I do trust him. And I do kind of have a semi-agreement with this critique that slowness happens in this arc, and that is okay. The next complaint. Things are overly complicated. There are overly complicated rules in the system, such as dials and X-tolls and various trials, and there's just a lot going on. It's kind of connected with the slow plot, but we're talking about overly complicated systems and rules for this arc. Now, kind of going back to when they were explaining about the dials, I was kind of, I distinctly remember being like, why? Why? Oda ties it all in, But I can understand the critique. The X-tolls I actually really appreciated because I really thought it was very much connected to people leaving their war-torn countries and maybe seeking refuge to a safer country. And then all of a sudden in that safe country, in that safe haven, they are taxed and, just awful things happen. There is a price to be paid for leaving one's war-torn country and seeking the refuge into another country. And sometimes that toll is so high. And so I was like, I could appreciate the real world feel of the X-Tolls and the Straw Hats being outraged by the fact that the X-Tolls were just wild. Now, here's one thing that I kind of wished was tied up a little bit more. I actually wish that there was an actual trial and there was a judge and there was a jury and the Straw Hats had to be held accountable. And I kind of wish that they would have taken this idea of repaying the X-Tolls. I wish that it would have seen some sort of conclusion. But it didn't really happen. And I was a little bit like, But I also understand that sometimes my imagination and where I think things are gonna go, my imagination can go, oh, you didn't get that? Because I get so excited about what's happening and is the price gonna need to be paid and how far are they gonna go with this? And all of a sudden I realize that my mind is just running with this idea of unpaid, X-Tolls and what the Straw Hats are gonna do in order to make up the payment and all of that. But it doesn't happen, and it doesn't always happen the way that I want, and that is okay. I have come to terms with that. However, I will say that I was kind of hoping for like an actual trial, like a judge and jury and an outcome and and the reading of the sheet and being like, we found you guilty or not guilty. Like, I was kind of hoping for that, But it didn't happen, and that's okay. There's plenty of story of One Piece to go, and I have faith that there's more excitement to be had. I mean, for real, I have about 800 chapters to go. That seems like a lot when I say it aloud, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay. So the next critique. Let's move on. The next critique is the fact that there are multiple storylines. Just like overly complicated rules. There's a lot going on. Oh, what is happening? My calendar just went off. Oh my gracious. Oh, it's not my calendar. It's my husband's calendar. Because unlike this, what you see here, you may think I am an organized person. It is a facade. It is a facade. I don't keep much of a calendar. I try, but anyways, I digress. So there are multiple storylines. There's the Skypiea people, and there are the Straw Hats, and then there's Anel, and then there's our gorillas, and it's, and then there's even our Hessos, those guys, and it's not gonna lie, it's kind of a lot. It's kind of a lot. The military people, the military people, what do we call those? The Skypiea army that's keeping everyone in line and sort of in line with Anel. I kind of thought they were a little bit unnecessary. It doesn't, really, it kind of resolves itself extremely quickly. They're kind of trying to keep everyone in line, and then they were like, we just wanted to keep everyone in line so that nobody would get punished. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. However, that whole, them even being created and on Sky Island, I was just kind of like, you were kind of unnecessary. But, there was a lot to juggle. Did I mind? I'm digging deep in my soul right now. Did I mind? I didn't really mind, maybe a little bit. I wish that the Sky people were developed a bit more, and I wish that Anel was developed a bit more, but that's another critique. I do, maybe there was one too many storylines. I don't know. I'll have to think on that a bit more. I don't have a solid, one way or the other. On one hand, I was like, I kept track of it just fine. And on the other hand, I was like, some of it just didn't seem to add a lot of heft, a lot of richness to the story, i.e. mostly the Hessos, the military on the island. I like the Sky people, and I love the gorillas, and I liked Anel, and I loved our Straw Hats. I like the story. I liked all these storylines. I'm not saying that I like the characters, but the military people keeping everyone in line, I thought they were a little bit unnecessary. So, okay, now we've gotten to I think the thing that I most have an agreement with when people critique Skypiea, and that it is the undeveloped characters, okay? Look, the undeveloped characters. So, some people think that the Straw Hat members were underutilized. Some Straw Hat members were underutilized. i.e. Sanji and Usopp. And to that, I actually say, you know, in every arc, there's somebody who's, you know, hurt and sort of off to the side, and they end up popping up later. Actually, it seems to be Sanji, you know, when he's talking with the snail phone. That, you know, I think about that. Because I almost, you know, sometimes you almost, like, forget that Sanji is, like, doing his own thing for a minute, and then he pops right back up, and it is, like, this little of excitement. There's this thrill of excitement. So, you know, Usopp and Sanji hurt and not playing a huge role in this arc doesn't bother me so much. However, I do think that I wanted to see more of more development in some people, like Genfall, like what is it, the Sky Knight. I wanted to know more. I wanted like a Chef Zeph type backstory about Sky Knight. I just did. Like, I wanted a really great backstory about him because I found him compelling. I found his motivation compelling. You know, he was willing from the get-go to be on our Straw Hat side. And look, like I said, I have about 800 chapters to go. So we can dig into this later on. Like, it can happen. We might even get a wonderful Sky Knight backstory later on. You know, I have faith that he'll show up again. Also, Connis and her father, there isn't a lot there either. You know, they're kind of just, they're there to move the story along. And there's a part of me that's like, I'm such a character-driven reader. I mean, in all of my reading, I love a good character development. I wanted more from them. And actually, you know, this is probably my biggest critique. Don't get mad. Y'all, this is all in good, lighthearted fun. Y'all know how much I love my One Piece. But actually, I wanted to know why Enel was the way that he was. I wanted to understand, like, why he seemed so cuckoo's bananas crazy off the rails. He seemed grandiose. He was a god of his own making, but I didn't really understand why. And he seemed like he was missing some cogs up there in the wheels of his brain. Like, I don't know if everything was there, but I didn't understand what was going on with him. I'm going to give Oda so much benefit of the doubt because I do think that you know, he doesn't have to develop all the villains. And there's a lot of room for me to read. So I feel like if Enel shows up again, and then we get that backstory, and then I go back and reread Skypiea, and all of a sudden, all of Enel makes sense. I was like, then you know, it would be good. You know, like, I have faith that, like, we have room to go. So these are not, like, my final thoughts on Skypiea. And who knows, you know, maybe, what I'm saying is that maybe the Enel backstory is to come. And I am just short-sighted in what I am experiencing right now. But I would have loved to have a bit more complexity. I would have loved to see a bit more as to how he came to power, what the whole deal is with, like, his attitude towards everything, and why he is the way that he is. I also think that, I mean, clever, I don't know, but Enel and Eminem as, you know, Enel as Eminem. Is that a critique? I don't think that's a fan critique. This is just a Shelley critique. I haven't seen much. Everyone was just like, Eminem in the house. And I was like, okay. You know, I know Oda likes to base his characters off of real people. And so, Enel as Eminem, I thought it was interesting. And I also wondered why. But, you know, maybe I'll get that in an SBS. Maybe that's just my own sort of thing. You know, I don't know. But I really didn't like Enel's attitude, and it got in and amongst me. Obviously, I said that I would wear his eyes like a necklace around my neck, and you know, like, that's what I wanted. So clearly he got in and amongst me. But I would have loved to understand, like, why I was disliking him so much. Another critique, the quick resolution. The quick resolution. The defeat of Enel is too fast. It's just. It happens with one swift blow to the jaw and the ringing of the bell. All of it happens in one moment. And actually, this was something I did notice. And I wondered when people were saying that they did not like Skypiea very much, or that it's one of the least favorite arcs. I actually wondered if it was because the battle scenes, the resolution comes very quickly. The battle scenes are quite brief. We don't get a lot of fighting between Enel and the Straw Hats. I think him and Luffy battle two main times. I think maybe 3. And in that, it's pretty quick. And I don't, I'm not sure exactly why the final blow that gets Enel in the jaw and sets him off to losing. I'm not sure why that blow was the one that was able to defeat him. So it does seem to, it wraps up quickly. And also that one blow is the same blow that like rings a bell. Now, I can see it from both sides. I'm like, how astute, how honorable is it that, that one pop is like what really gets both Enel and the bell that needs to be rung, So I get that, I get it. There's a satisfying quality to it all. But there's also like, I really wanted to see some of the ultra clever Oda-ness come out in this arc. And the ultra clever Oda-ness doesn't really seem to come out in this arc. I mean, I do think that there is a clever moment. I don't know if it's an ultra clever moment. Don't ask me to rank clever versus ultra clever. I don't really know what my standards are. But I do think that, like, the whole rubber band thing, and how wouldn't it be a substance that exists in Skypiea, and how the Straw Hats have, rubber, and it is this new substance to Skypiea, and that plays a role into the beating of Enel. All of that is pretty clever. But I do think that the resolution, our battle scenes are kind of short. And I could see why, some fans are like, all of that, the really complicated storylines, the long introduction leads to such a quick resolution. And just, feeling some sort of way about it all. I could see the frustration. Even though, I don't know, I mean, I feel mixed about that one as well. Whereas some of the other critiques, I sort of staunchly disagree. Let me end this video on a bit of a positive. I do think that Skypiea has one of the best backstories that I've read. It's right up there with the Chef Zeph backstory, the Sanji and Chef Zeph backstory, which I thought was phenomenal. It was a fantastic backstory, one that has stuck with me for some time. And the Belmires, Nami's backstory also stands out. And Zoro's. Okay, we're not going to go into all the backstories. I do think that as a backstory, it has been fantastic. Because Nolan goes to, Nolan on his exploration does something really wonderful. I feel like there are a lot of philosophical elements to Nolan's backstory. I love the friendship element that he has, which is fan-freaking-tastic. And I think Oda is doing what Oda does best in building friendships and connections between people, and then trying that friendship and connection, and then coming back around and having a resolution that is both beautiful and emotional. And I just think this backstory really stands out among the backstories that we get. It's a fantastic one, and I think we can all agree, since I'm bringing up all these controversial issues and me trying to bring it all back together to a happy note, I think we can all agree that Nolan's backstory is awesome. And the symbolism of the bell and the connection he has with the Shandorians. What is the name? Oh my gosh. The Shandorians, the light of Shandora, and those people, and doing something with grace and beauty and with good intentions and carrying that out well. I thought that was just phenomenal. It's a great backstory. And so even if Skypiea is not the perfect arc, like not everything can be perfect. Even if Skypiea is not the perfect arc, I enjoyed myself with it. And the story that stands out the most among this arc is that the backstory was fantastic. And I really actually enjoyed Enel as a villain. I just wish he was slightly more developed. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear thoughts, ideas, theories as to why this ranks the way that it ranks. How does it rank in your soul in terms of, in terms of arcs? I want to know. Give me all the thoughts. Give me all the thoughts. I would really appreciate that. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye.